Hi everyone, it's Spencer Hakimian and welcome back to another episode of What's Moving Your Money with Forbes. On today's episode, we are going to be covering today's CPI report as well as the jobless claims report, the stagflationary trend that this is just continuing to show in our overall economy. And then we're going to be covering Howard Lutnick's comments on CNBC this morning. This was the first time that a cabinet member, a White House official, has acknowledged that consumers may be bearing the brunt of the costs of all these tariffs, which I thought was quite interesting, and I haven't seen it covered for whatever reason by anyone yet. So sit back tight, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So before we continue with today's episode, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the horrific acts that happened across the United States yesterday. In one instance, we had Charlie Kirk, who is an online commentator, who is a political personality. He was assassinated on a college campus in Utah. And on another situation, we had a school shooting in Denver. If you know me, you know I'm not too political of a guy. I agree with people when I agree with them, and I respectfully disagree with people when I disagree with them. But violence is obviously never the answer. Needless to say, we cannot let this happen as a country. We cannot let this continue. Whether you agree with someone or not, you're entitled to your own opinion, but nobody's entitled to violence, and it is a tragedy. Freedom of speech is the most important founding principle of this country. Take it from me, I'm the son of political refugees from a country that did not have freedom of speech. We cannot go forward like this as a country. I just wanted to clear the air and talk about that. I also want to take some time to acknowledge 9/11. It is the 24th anniversary of one of the most horrific days in American history. We should always remember all of those that lost their lives, and above all else, what we should remember is that we are in this together. We are all Americans, red, blue, anything in between. We are Americans. There's enough people out there that hate us. We should not hate one another because it's not going to solve anything. We should come together and we should try our best to be humans and see the humanity in one another, regardless of our rather small differences on some topics. So today we got a CPI number in, and it confirmed the trend that we have been seeing. Inflation is rising, both on a month-to-month basis, both on an annualized basis, both on just what's happening versus Wall Street estimate basis, which I think is very alarming. When you get consecutive month after consecutive month where inflation keeps coming in higher than the consensus that Wall Street had expected, it's showing that this is an entrenched problem that is getting worse, not better over time. The numbers for today came in at 0.4% month over month versus an estimate of 0.3% month over month versus a print for last month of only 0.2%. So you see this trend is building on top of itself. At 0.4% month over month, that means that on an annualized basis, inflation is running close to 5%. That is well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. And it is a near certainty at this point that the Federal Reserve will begin its cutting journey next week. And as that happens, we are going to be putting kerosene on the fire of inflation. This problem can quickly spiral out of control. And it is very worrisome and very troubling that we are not even acknowledging how entrenched and how out of control inflation is getting right now. It's barely being spoken about. And interestingly enough, this is all happening at a time when oil prices are mute. Oil prices have been around 60 to 70 for the past 2.5, 3 years now, and we're still getting this spike in inflation. Imagine if we have some type of conflict that sends oil up to $85, $90 a barrel. We could easily be looking at 5, 6, 7% inflation again very quickly. So we have to worry about this as a country. Our policymakers, our fiscal and monetary authorities have to be thinking about this because inflation is going to devastate our country, particularly the working class, if it makes another resurgence here in 2025 and 2026 or whenever. Another thing that is really troubling is jobless claims. If you saw this morning, jobless claims for this past week came in at 260,000 versus an estimate of 237,000. And think about it, we are now overbeating jobless claims by 10% on a weekly basis. This number literally came in 25,000 jobs list claims higher than what was expected. As I've been saying on this show for months now, if you follow me here, if you follow me on TikTok, if you follow me on Instagram, the economy is cyclical. When somebody loses their job and they lose their income, they can't spend as much, which means that somebody else is going to lose their job and their income, which means that that person's spending was somebody else's job and their income. And this thing just keeps getting worse over time. And we have to nip this thing in the bud before it gets worse. And look, the theme of today's show is going to be stagflation. On one hand, we have inflation that is simply spiraling out of control on a month over month, on an annualized, on a year over year, on a quarterly, on a bi-yearly basis. And on the other hand, we have jobless claims and the labor market that is collapsing in real time in our faces. The amount of time people are spending unemployed is up almost fourfold from just 18 months ago. It is getting harder and harder to find a job if you find yourself laid off or temporarily put out of the labor market. So this problem does not appear to be getting better anytime soon. As a matter of fact, it appears to be getting worse, and we have to cover it. I know how asset markets are performing. I know how the stock market is performing. I know all of that. I see the same screens you do, but I'm also seeing the data that's right in front of my face, and I'm worried. Comment, what do you guys think? Do you guys think the stock market is right now? Or do you guys think the economic data, inflation, the job market, company guidance, do you think that is correct right now? It's a very interesting dichotomy we're witnessing, and to be honest, we don't know where this is gonna take us, which is what's making it so frightening in real time to watch it. And now to end today's episode, I want to talk about what Howard Lutnick said on CNBC this morning. He said that if tariffs are above roughly 10 to 15%, we have evidence that consumers and companies are sharing the cost. Whoa! Isn't that an interesting comment? Because up until now, the entire White House was saying that this is going to be paid for by foreigners. And just in the past few weeks, they've started hedging by saying maybe some of the biggest American companies will bear some of the costs as well. But to outright have the Commerce Secretary go on the biggest financial channel and point blank say that consumers are bearing the brunt of these costs as well. Wow. I don't know why he said it. Very unlike him. Obviously, it's true. Obviously, it's been reality. I've been talking about this since April 2nd. But to hear them say it really out of nowhere, very interesting. Maybe they're trying to give themselves an off-ramp in the event that the Supreme Court rules against them. I don't know. But I found it so fascinating. Can you guys let me know what you guys think about that comment? Were you caught off guard? Did you expect it? Why do you think he said it out of nowhere finally now? So guys, that is today's episode. Today is obviously a very hard day for our country with everything that's gone on. And I just want to end with, it's not worth fighting over politics. It's not worth not talking to family and friends over politics. These things are not all that significant in the long run. Hug a loved one today. Life is fragile, life is short, and we really should cherish every day that we have on this planet together. And at the end of the day, we are all we have for each other. There's nothing else beyond this. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.